Okay, let's dive right into this. Right now, it feels like every single organization out there is absolutely obsessed with AI, doesn't it? We've got copilots rolling out, chatbots being spun up, and dashboards optimizing, well, literally everything. And sure, they all promise this faster, wildly productive future, but today, in this explainer, we're going to explore a massive, yet oddly invisible shift that's happening right under our noses. We're looking at exactly what happens when AI quietly morphs from being just a simple productivity tool into an invisible manager inside human resources.
Here is our cognitive roadmap for today. First, the AI blind spot. Second, the danger of human hollowing. Third, the HCAF model. Fourth, the 5 governance pillars. And finally, number 5, the governance board. We're going to diagnose the problem and then give you a structured step-by-step solution.
All right, part 1, the AI blind spot, from tool to manager. There is just this stark, undeniable contrast between the shiny promises of AI copilots making our lives a breeze and the fundamental power shift that's actually occurring right beneath the surface.
I want you to ask yourself this, and really think about it. Who guards the human when AI starts distributing the work? We have to force ourselves to reflect on this new reality, because AI, it's no longer neutral. It ordains, it selects, it weighs, and it judges. When an algorithm starts suggesting who gets a specific project or how performance is scored, well, that's not just a software update anymore. It is a massive shift in workplace power dynamics.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core issue. Management loves to talk up the innocent promises of AI, right? Efficiency, lower costs, speed. It sounds fantastic, but the reality is so much heavier. The reality is that AI is out there actively judging profiles, predicting employee flight risks, and recommending work allocation. Without conscious human oversight, AI completely ceases to be a helpful little assistant. It actually becomes an invisible manager, quietly shifting the entire balance of power.
Which brings us to part 2, the danger of human hollowing. We really need to look at the severe consequences of letting the automatic pilot rewrite the organizational route without us even noticing.
Let's define exactly what's going on here. It's called algorithmic human capital drift. Basically, it's this creeping process where decisions about your people are increasingly influenced by systems without any clear human control or correction. It's kind of like sitting in a giant commercial airplane cockpit. It looks fully manned, the pilots are sitting right there in their seats looking busy, but actually, the autopilot has secretly changed the destination. And honestly, that is exactly what is happening in HR departments everywhere right now.
And the tragic end result of this drift is what we call human hollowing. This is the literal loss of craftsmanship, critical thinking, moral judgment, and psychological safety as organizations just blindly optimize for AI productivity. When we let AI measure only the visible output, we inadvertently create this culture of purely performative work. It quietly suffocates our deeper human capabilities. It's a lot like placing a glass jar over a candle. The flame burns super bright for a second, but then the oxygen just completely runs out.
So moving to section 3, the HCAF model, structuring autosapiens. It is time to pivot away from agitating the problem and look at a highly focused framework and solution.
To solve this creeping drift, returning to a very specific, proven solution. And it is absolutely crucial to highlight here that human capital governance is a vital component of the Human Capital Allocation Framework, or HCAF for short, which was created by Willem Scheepers. The HCAF is explicitly designed to ensure a conscious, deliberate match between the human, the task, and the context. It measures the match, sure, but more importantly, it actually allows us to govern the meaning. Through this framework, Willem Scheepers introduces a really fascinating concept called autosapiens. It's essentially the new organizational system where human and artificial intelligence no longer work in silos, but function together as one integrated unit. The HCAF helps us safely integrate this autosapiens reality by bringing HR, IT, and board responsibilities all to the same table. It proves that proper governance isn't some annoying brake on innovation, it's actually the steering wheel.
All right, section 4, the 5 governance pillars. How exactly do we steer this new system? Let's break down the structured blueprint designed to prevent that human hollowing we talked about. There are 5 core principles that make up the governance blueprint within the HCAF. We've got transparency, human final responsibility, data minimization, bias and impact testing, and development value. Let's zoom in on a few of the most critical ones to see how they actually play out in the real world.
So the crucial point is right here in Pillar 2, human final responsibility, where we see a really dangerous trap. The ideal scenario is human in the loop. But the grim reality? Human on the hook. Look, if managers just blindly follow AI advice because they don't have the time, the knowledge, or frankly the courage to apply their own judgment, they aren't truly decision makers anymore. They just become scapegoats. They're left on the hook to explain to leadership why the system ultimately failed.
Now, pillars 3 and 4 focus on data minimization and impact. Listen, just because AI makes it possible to measure every single keystroke absolutely does not mean we should. Excessive monitoring destroys psychological safety in an instant. Plus, we have to test for who the system works for, not just if it works on average. Why? Because historical data almost always reinforces historical inequalities, and we simply cannot afford to automate our old blind spots into the future. And then, pillar 5, development value. This one is vital. AI has to enhance human capital, not drain it. We cannot commit predatory exhaustion, what the original Dutch source text really powerfully refers to as roofbouw, disguised as a shiny new dashboard. If AI does all the junior grunt work analysis, we completely lose the training ground where young professionals build their thinking muscles and their long-term craftsmanship.
Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds into actionable steps with the governance board. This is the immediate, practical takeaway for your organization to apply today.
Establishing a cross-disciplinary governance board combining HR, IT, legal, and management is your absolute first step. Before deploying any AI that impacts your people, this board has to ask 7 crucial questions. Purpose: is AI even necessary here? Data: is it proportional? Impact: who is actually affected? Explainability: can we explain the outcome in plain English? Human judgment: where is the human check? Development value: does this build our team's skills? And finally, correction: how can an employee appeal a decision? Just by running through this list, AI instantly becomes a mature, manageable part of your organizational governance.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how perfectly it visualizes the balancing act. AI possesses incredible power, right? Data, analysis, pattern recognition, automation, scalability. But to keep an organization upright and functional, that raw analytical power has to be perfectly counterweighted by irreplaceable human elements: judgment, values, creativity, genuine connection, and responsibility. It is a highly delicate balance that requires constant, intentional attention.
I want to leave you with this final, truly memorable thought. AI can distribute work. Governance must prevent people from becoming divided. Just take a second to really reflect on that. Is your organization merely adopting AI, just blindly following the autopilot because everyone else is? Or are you truly governing it to protect, nurture, and develop your absolute most valuable asset, your people? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will catch you next time.